A significant weather pattern is developing across the United States, multiple systems converging, Arctic air pushing south. The quiet winter many regions have experienced is about to change dramatically. Right now, conditions across the country couldn't be more different, and understanding where we are today helps explain what's coming in the next 7 to 10 days. Across the Gulf Coast from Texas through Louisiana and into Mississippi, it's been warm and humid. Temperatures running 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Mississippi dealt with severe weather and tornado warnings this morning. That warm, unstable air mass has been sitting over the region all week. South Carolina has seen rainy conditions, near record warmth. That changes dramatically starting Sunday. Missouri has been quiet. Temperatures hovering around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Calm conditions, almost boring for those who enjoy winter weather. That extended mild spell ends next week when the pattern flips. Compare that to the high plains. Eastern Colorado saw temperatures drop to 17 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, wind chills down to 5 degrees. That's the Arctic air mass we'll be tracking as it moves eastward. Northeast Florida enjoyed perfect weather for the past 10 days. Clear skies, comfortable temperatures in the 60s and 70s. That's going to feel like a distant memory by Friday. Maryland, many areas have been waiting for snow. 2 years without a major storm in some locations. This pattern shift has potential, but I am not going to promise anything until we see how these systems develop over the next 48 hours. South central Wisconsin was seeing rain this morning. Some areas are already reporting the transition to snow. That's how quickly this system is moving through. Let me show you what's happening meteorologically. The upper-level pattern is undergoing a significant reorganization. We have a strong ridge of high pressure that has been sitting over the western United States for the past week. That ridge is what kept places like Colorado cold while allowing warm air to surge northward through the Mississippi Valley into the Great Lakes. That ridge is now breaking down. At the same time, a deep trough is digging into the central United States. When I say deep, I'm talking about a 500 millibar height anomaly of negative 100 to negative 150 meters below normal. That is a substantial departure. This trough is going to act like a conveyor belt. It's going to pull Arctic air southward out of Canada. Not just cold air, Arctic air, the kind that originated near the polar regions. According to the latest run of the Global Forecast System model, updated as of 6 a.m. Eastern this morning, the coldest air arrives in 2 waves. The first wave pushes through the northern plains Wednesday into Thursday. The second, more intense wave sweeps across the entire eastern 2/3 of the country Friday through Sunday. The European model, the ECMWF, shows a similar pattern. There's high confidence in this forecast. When multiple models agree on the large-scale pattern 5 to 7 days out, that tells us something significant is happening. Now let's talk about what this means for different regions. I am going to break this down geographically because the timing and impacts vary considerably depending on where you are. Starting with the northern plains and upper Midwest, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, northern Wisconsin. You're already seeing the transition begin. Temperatures today in the 30s and 40s Fahrenheit. By Wednesday morning, you are looking at single digits. Some locations could see temperatures drop below 0 Fahrenheit Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Wind chills are going to be the bigger concern. Sustained winds of 15 to 25 miles per hour out of the northwest. That's going to drive wind chill values down to 10 to 20 below 0 Fahrenheit across much of the region. Some of you remember similar patterns. This isn't unprecedented, but it's cold enough to be dangerous if you are not prepared. Snowfall across this region looks modest with this first system. 2 to 4 inches for most areas, maybe 6 inches in localized bands where lake effect sets up downwind of Lake Superior. The Keweenaw Peninsula could see 8 to 12 inches by Thursday evening, moving south into Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas. You are in the transition zone. Today, you are still relatively mild. Temperatures in the 40s. By Wednesday afternoon, temperatures fall into the 20s. Thursday morning, most areas wake up to temperatures in the teens Fahrenheit. The precipitation with this system affects you mainly Wednesday. Rain initially transitioning to snow Wednesday afternoon and evening. Accumulations look light for most areas, 1 to 3 inches, but the road conditions could deteriorate quickly during the evening commute Wednesday. The Missouri Valley from Missouri through Illinois and into Indiana faces similar timing. Quiet conditions through Tuesday. Wednesday brings the change. Rain develops Wednesday morning as cold air filters in Wednesday afternoon and evening. That rain transitions to snow. This is where the forecast gets interesting. How much snow you receive depends on the exact track of the low-pressure system that develops along the front. If the low tracks farther north through northern Illinois, you could see significant snow across central and southern portions of these states, 4 to 8 inches possible. If the low tracks farther south through the Ohio Valley, the heavier snow stays to the south and east. Right now, the NAM model, the North American Mesoscale model, suggests a northern track. The GFS suggests a slightly more southern track. We need another 24 to 36 hours of data before we can pin down the exact track with confidence. What we can say with confidence, temperatures drop significantly. Wednesday morning, you might be at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. By Thursday morning, you are at 15 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a 30-degree drop in 24 hours. The Ohio Valley, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia. Your window for this system is Wednesday night into Thursday. Most areas see rain Wednesday. The transition to snow comes Wednesday night. How far south the snow reaches remains uncertain. Northern Kentucky, southern Ohio, most of West Virginia, you should prepare for snow. Accumulations of 3 to 6 inches look reasonable, possibly more in the Appalachian ridges where upslope flow enhances precipitation. Central Tennessee, you are on the southern edge. Could be all rain, could be a brief period of snow Wednesday night before it ends. The models are inconsistent this far out. Western North Carolina has been asking about snow all winter. This system has potential for you. Cold air will be in place. Moisture will be available. The mountains could see 4 to 8 inches Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Lower elevations, 2 to 4 inches possible. The Great Lakes region, Michigan, northern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, western New York. You get the initial system Wednesday into Thursday. Then lake effect snow becomes the story Thursday afternoon through the weekend. The setup looks favorable for significant lake effect. Arctic air moving over relatively warm lake water. Temperature difference of 25 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit between the lake surface and the air mass at 5,000 feet. That's enough to generate intense snow bands. If you are in the typical lake effect snow belts, you know what this means. Potentially heavy snow in narrow bands. Some locations could see 12 to 24 inches by Sunday. Other locations 10 miles away might see 2 inches. That's the nature of lake effect. The Mid-Atlantic, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, Eastern Pennsylvania, many of you have been hoping for snow this winter. This pattern change brings opportunities. The first system Wednesday night into Thursday clips the western portions. Western Maryland, the mountains of Virginia, you are most likely to see accumulating snow. 3 to 6 inches possible in higher elevations. But there's another system we re-watching for early next week. Monday into Tuesday timeframe. This one has better potential for the Interstate 95 corridor. It is too early for specific numbers, but the pattern supports coastal development. A nor'easter scenario is possible. I am not going to overpromise. We've all seen these setups that look promising at 7 days out and then fall apart, but the pattern is more favorable than anything we've seen this winter. Stay tuned to updated forecasts. The Northeast, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. Similar story. The first system Wednesday into Thursday mainly affects western areas. The Catskills, Berkshires, Green Mountains could see 6 to 10 inches. Coastal areas might see rain changing to snow Wednesday night with minor accumulations. But again, early next week looks more interesting for potential significant snow. Now let's talk about the Southeast and Gulf Coast. This is where the temperature change is most dramatic because you are starting from the warmest baseline. Right now, many areas are in the 70s Fahrenheit, even approaching 80 degrees in some spots. By Friday, high temperatures struggle to reach the 40s. Some areas might not get out of the 30s Fahrenheit. Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, eastern Texas. The cold front sweeps through Thursday into Friday. Showers and thunderstorms ahead of the front Thursday. Some could be strong to severe given the instability. The Storm Prediction Center has already highlighted areas of concern. Behind the front, temperatures crash. Friday morning, most areas wake up to temperatures in the 30s. For context, normal high temperatures this time of year are in the 50s and 60s Fahrenheit. You are looking at temperatures 15 to 25 degrees below normal. Saturday morning brings the coldest air. Low temperatures in the 20s for most inland areas, coastal areas, mid to upper 20s. Some interior locations could see upper teens. This matters for several reasons. First, many Floridians don to own heavy winter coats. Multiple thin layers work better than trying to find a parka you might wear once a year. Long sleeve shirt, sweater, light jacket. That combination provides flexibility. Second, if you have sensitive plants, they need protection. Bring them inside if possible. Cover them if not. Temperatures in the upper 20s for several hours can damage tropical and subtropical plants. Third, pipes. Most homes in the Deep South aren't built for sustained freezing temperatures. If you have exposed pipes, particularly on north-facing walls or in crawl spaces, let faucets drip Friday night into Saturday morning. Moving water is less likely to freeze. The duration of the cold is relatively brief for the Gulf Coast. By Sunday, temperatures moderate back into the 40s and 50s. But Friday night into Saturday morning is the critical window. Florida deserves special attention. The entire state sees this cold air, even South Florida. Miami could see temperatures drop into the upper 40s Friday night. That's cold for Miami. Central Florida, Orlando area, low temperatures Friday night into Saturday morning in the upper 20s to low 30s Fahrenheit. Northern Florida, Jacksonville through the Panhandle, mid-20s likely. Some interior locations could touch 20 degrees. The National Weather Service will likely issue freeze warnings for much of the state. Take them seriously. This is the coldest air Florida has seen in over 2 years. Agricultural interests need to pay attention. Citrus groves, strawberry fields. This cold air lingers long enough Friday night into Saturday morning to potentially cause damage depending on specific microclimates and protective measures. Now let us discuss the broader pattern implications. This isn't a one-and-done cold shot. The pattern change suggests colder than normal temperatures persist through at least the end of January, possibly into early February. The polar vortex, that large area of low pressure and cold air over the Arctic, has been relatively stable this winter. That kept the coldest air bottled up near the pole. What we are seeing now is a disruption. A piece of the vortex is being displaced southward. This doesn't mean the polar vortex is collapsing. That's a term that gets thrown around often and usually incorrectly. But there is a southward extension of the cold air mass. And that extension looks to persist. Long-range models, the Climate Forecast System, and the European Extended Model both suggest below normal temperatures for much of the eastern two-thirds of the United States for the next 2 to 3 weeks. What does that mean practically? More systems tracking through, more opportunities for snow in areas that typically see winter precipitation, continued cold temperatures even on days without active weather. Let me address some specific concerns that come up with patterns like this. First, extreme cold safety. When wind chills drop below 0 Fahrenheit, frostbite can occur on exposed skin in less than 30 minutes. If you must be outside, cover all exposed skin. Wear layers. The layer closest to your skin should wick moisture. Middle layers provide insulation. Outer layer blocks wind. Hypothermia is another concern. Early signs include shivering, confusion, drowsiness. If someone shows these signs, get them to a warm location immediately. Remove any wet clothing. Warm the person gradually. Do not use hot water or heating pads. That can cause shock. Second, vehicle preparation. Keep your gas tank at least half full. If you get stranded, you need fuel to run the engine for heat. Keep an emergency kit in your vehicle. Blankets, flashlight, extra batteries, first aid kit, non-perishable snacks, water, jumper cables, ice scraper, small shovel. If your car gets stuck in snow, don spin your wheels. That just digs you deeper. Rock the vehicle gently back and forth, straighten your wheels. If you have floor mats, you can place them under the drive wheels for traction. Cat litter also works. Sand works. Increases traction. Third, home heating. Make sure your heating system is working properly before the coldest air arrives. Change furnace filters if you haven't recently. A dirty filter reduces efficiency and can cause the system to fail. If you use space heaters, keep them at least 3 feet away from anything that can burn. Never leave them running unattended. Never use your oven or stovetop to heat your home. Carbon monoxide poisoning is deadly and you want to see it or smell it. Speaking of carbon monoxide, if you lose power and use a generator, keep it outside. At least 20 feet from windows, doors, and vents. Carbon monoxide from generators kills people every winter. Fourth, elderly neighbors and family members. Check on them. Make sure they have adequate heat. Make sure they have food and medications. Offer to pick up supplies for them so they don't have to venture out in dangerous conditions. Some elderly individuals try to save money on heating bills by keeping their homes too cold. Hypothermia can occur indoors if the temperature drops below 50 degrees Fahrenheit for extended periods. Have a conversation. Make sure they staying warm. Fifth, pets. Dogs and cats feel the cold too. If it's too cold for you to stay outside comfortably, it's too cold for your pets. Bring them inside. If you have outdoor animals that can come inside, provide adequate shelter. Dry bedding, windbreak, access to unfrozen water. Sixth, power outages. Heavy snow, ice, and strong winds can bring down power lines. Have flashlights and extra batteries ready. Charge your cell phones before the storms arrive. Have a battery-powered or hand-crank radio for weather updates if you lose power. Food that requires refrigeration stays safe in your refrigerator for about 4 hours if you keep the door closed. Your freezer keeps food safe for about 48 hours if full, 24 hours if half full, again assuming you keep the door closed. Now let's talk about the travel impacts. If you have travel plans Wednesday through Sunday across any of the affected areas, pay close attention to forecasts and be flexible. Air travel will likely see delays and cancellations, particularly at major hubs in Chicago, Minneapolis, Detroit, Cleveland. The initial system Wednesday into Thursday affects these areas. Then ongoing lake effect snow could continue to cause problems into the weekend. If you reflying, check your flight status before leaving for the airport. Airlines often waive change fees during major winter storms. Take advantage of that if your flight is affected. Road travel is more concerning. Interstate 90, Interstate 80, Interstate 70, Interstate 64, all could see difficult to dangerous conditions at various points Wednesday through Friday. Black ice is a particular hazard. When temperatures drop rapidly behind the front, any moisture on the roadways freezes. You can see it. The road looks clear, but it is slick. Bridges and overpasses freeze first. Reduce your speed. Increase your following distance. Give yourself extra time. If the roads are truly dangerous, the best option is to not travel at all. No appointment or event is worth your life. Truck drivers and commercial vehicle operators, you deal with this regularly. But this system affects a large area simultaneously. Truck stops and rest areas could fill up quickly if everyone decides to wait out the storm. Plan accordingly. Let me address the longer-term outlook briefly. Beyond this immediate pattern, what does the rest of winter look like? The Climate Prediction Center's latest outlook for late January into February suggests continued below normal temperatures for the eastern United States, above normal precipitation for much of the same area. That typically translates to more snow events for regions that receive winter precipitation. The Pacific pattern shows signs of La Niña weakening. We've been in weak La Niña conditions, that's moderating. A neutral phase is most likely for late winter into spring. What that means, the typical La Niña pattern of a split jet stream is breaking down. We're re-seeing more variability. Some weeks could be stormy, others quiet, but overall, colder than the first half of winter. Snowfall seasonal totals for the Great Lakes, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic still have time to reach or exceed normal despite the slow start. Several significant systems could accumulate quickly. For those keeping track of seasonal snowfall, many areas are running 10 to 20 inches below normal as of mid-January. One or two major systems can make up that deficit rapidly. Let me wrap up with the key points you need to remember. Arctic air arrives Wednesday for the northern plains and upper Midwest. Friday for the southeast and Gulf Coast. This is legitimate cold. The coldest air of the season for many areas. Multiple rounds of precipitation Wednesday through Friday. Snow for the northern tier states. Mix of rain and snow for the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. Rain transitioning to cold rain for the southeast. Specific amounts depend on storm tracks that we still fine-tuning. Lake effect snow could be significant Thursday through the weekend for typical lake effect belts. Measurement in feet for some locations. Temperature drop is dramatic for the Gulf Coast and southeast, from the 70s to the 30s in 36 hours. Protect sensitive plants and pipes. Travel impacts likely Wednesday through Friday. Be flexible. Monitor conditions. Don't take unnecessary risks. The pattern supports additional systems and continued cold through the end of January. This isn't a brief cold snap. It is a pattern change. Check updated forecasts daily. Conditions and timing can change as we get closer to each event. The National Weather Service issues winter storm watches, warnings, and advisories for good reason. Pay attention to them. Prepare now while you have time. Don't wait until Wednesday morning to get supplies. Don't wait until Friday to protect your pipes in the south. For those in snow country, you've done this before. You know the drill. Get the snowblower ready. Check the fuel. Make sure the auger isn't frozen. Stock up on ice melt if you need it. For those in areas that rarely see this kind of cold, particularly the deep south, take this seriously. 48 hours of preparation now prevents problems later. This is why we track these patterns, not to create panic, not to sensationalize, but to give you time to prepare, to give you accurate information so you can make informed decisions about travel, about protecting your property, about keeping your family safe. Winter means snow and cold. This particular pattern is more active than what we've seen so far this season, but it's not unprecedented. Many of you remember similar patterns. UV weathered worse. Stay informed, be prepared, look out for your neighbors. We'll continue monitoring these systems and providing updates as conditions develop. That is the forecast for the next 7 to 10 days. Significant weather ahead for much of the country.